everyone is struggling one way or the other going through life. And when we look at social media, often we have the feeling everyone else is successful, their life goes with ease and flow, and I'm the only one struggling.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Exploring You, our podcast to navigate you through the personal development jungle. My name is Darren Siegenberg, NLP Master Practitioner and part of Elysium NLP and the Mind Course CIC.
And I'm Alexandra Katzer, Nature Coach and Forest Bathing Guide.
This week's, we've not got anybody in particular to talk to this week. So we thought we'd get together again and share what our experiences of what we've had so far. So we've had 19 guests of all different kind of models and issues, if I say that, if I can use that word. So we thought we'd try and touch base today and kind of recap and find out, what we see, at least what we've got from our guests so far. Alexandra, I'll let you start.
Yeah. Well, we had some amazing people, and for me, really, what it showed me is that everyone is struggling one way or the other going through life. And when we look at social media, often we have the feeling everyone else is successful, their life goes with ease and flow, and I'm the only one struggling. And in all the episodes we had, it was really an eye-opener for me as well. I mean, I already knew it, but to see that even successful coaches and trainers, even they still struggle and have daily challenges to overcome. And I think that is so important, or that's the important message for me, that it's really important to open up and talk about it, but also to realize, hey, it's nothing wrong if I need help or support, because everyone is struggling in some ways. And that was a really a big takeaway from me. And also it helps the connection with people. Once we realize, okay, everyone is suffering on some level. And when you openly talk about it, you feel connection. And that's what I feel in the world is missing: connection to other people, connection to ourselves, but also connection to nature, and on the one hand, we believe we are so connected through social media, but in reality, we are more and more disconnected from everything around us. And through the podcast, I feel we make this connection again with each other.
Yeah, and when I looked at NLP, for me, it was about communication, getting people to communicate better. And I feel you're right. With social media, it's good in one way because we're thousands of miles apart and we can connect with people through that. But it's not that true connection, is there? There's not that real influence you can have when you're face to face. So, with technology, texting or emailing, we've lost that ability to actually talk to people. And you're right. I mean, some of the guests I've known for anything from 8, 10, over 20 years, and not know some of the stuff that they've gone through till they've shared on the podcast. And that, for me, it's that openness. If we're given that opportunity, like you say, to connect, we can become more open and share what's going on inside of us, or in our minds, in our body. And that's the important thing. It's that connect, like say, the connection you can have with somebody else to be able to be more open and share and overcome those barriers that you've got within you.
and also learning from each other, you know, like through all the different modalities that we had on the show as well. Like I got some tips that I could implement in my life as well. And I think this is also a great way to find out, okay, what works for me, because just because NLP works for someone and is life transforming doesn't mean NLP worked for me. Like I needed more the trauma sensitive approach, more slow, more working with inner parts, you know. So it's really so personalized what works for you, and picking up little things that you can incorporate in your daily life as well to improve and slowly grow and develop.
We've had some feedback, obviously, from our guests and people who've listened and watched the shows. And it's important that we get that feedback. And I think it's very much there's been the same as like we've said now already, is it's not for for me it's like that individualism, where you've got each person has their own things going on, and like you say, Reiki might not work for somebody, or ayahuasca might not work for some, but I like the idea of just general coaching or the trauma side of things. So everybody's like that individual side of things, and on what's going to work for them, not necessarily work for that other person. But it's where what I found with what we've had the guests is they talk about what's worked for them. And it's been having that sharing the stuff that they've gone through, is that people can see and hear that if they've got something inside, you're going to somebody who can understand where they're coming from. So I think we've used the term before. You can't tell me how to parent my children if you've not had children yourself. So you can't tell me how to treat my PTSD if you've never understood it yourself. And I think with our coaches and our guests that we've had on, they've had particular issues, what's been in their life, whether it be from an abuse or to seeing something abusive with their own kind, parents or relatives or somebody else. So it's taking them a step further to be able to say, right, I can help somebody with this by doing X, Y, Z. But I can understand where you're coming from because it's happened to me as well. I think for that openness and the sharing of everybody goes to show that you can be open, you can have that trust in somebody to be able to share what's going on with you. Because the big thing, isn't it, is having trust to be able to, with somebody, to share what's going on in your life or in the past. Because I suppose in a way it's like what you said there with the social media. It's not only the communication side and that connection with people. That's where the trust issue comes in as well, because we haven't got that trust anymore with people.
Yeah. And especially if you had early childhood trauma, trust is a very important or a challenging thing to do, to trust people. And especially in coaching, it's so important to trust the trainer, the coach, or the other person. So that helps you to open up and show your vulnerability as well. Yeah, that's when healing and change takes place.
And it's important for the coach as well to build that rapport with that person as well. So there is the two sides. You've got to be able to build that trust. You've got to give the person the ability to trust you, to be able to let them open up and share. So it's important from our side as coaches, or whatever we call ourselves, is we've got to build that. We've got to have time for that person to be able to open up, and they've got to have that trust, haven't they, at the end of the day?
And also, I feel it's important to notice that, or to say that with all the different modalities, maybe you resonate with some of the modalities more or less depending on where you are in your journey, you know. So it, to me also, with I've tried a lot of different things, and now I'm able to pick and choose what I feel works best for my body, for my overall well-being. And it doesn't also mean that, okay, once you have did one training or one coaching with NLP or Reiki, that there aren't other modalities that you can try on your way. Because I always feel personal development, it's like a lifelong journey, you know. And you peel away one layer like an onion, one layer after the other, until you come to your true self or your core self, you know. And there are different ways to get to, so it's not like that you have to stick with one modality. Just try and feel what works for you.
And I totally get you with that, because I know from my own experience is back in the day, I was very closed off to anything therapy wise. You know, it wasn't till NLP that I thought, why did I not why did I not find this earlier? And then I've become more open to things. And I'm smiling because I'm thinking the episode we did with Magdalena Glistack, I think I sat there and just listened to it more than I did make any conversation. So I've become more open to different things. You know, knock on wood, you know, we talk about the chakras, you know, we had a conversation sometime after it, and I'm like, this has intrigued me. I want to know a bit more about this. Whereas the likes with ayahuasca, I'm still not on that line. It's not something I would go for, right? But I'd be more interested in something else to get more an idea about that. So
Yeah.
it is that choice, isn't there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, um, if it doesn't resonate now, doesn't mean it doesn't resonate in 5 years, you know. So like, for example, energy work, couple of years ago, it was like, this is weird, it doesn't work, I feel nothing. And now energy work is completely different. Like, my body goes in resonance. I feel it in my body when blocked energy is released. And a couple of years ago, it didn't do anything for me, because I was still too much in my head. And I think once you loosen the grip to try to understand everything with your mind, or if you stop being stuck in your mind, if you get more into your body, into the feeling side of things, then things slightly shift as well. So it's a very, very interesting process. And I think it's also important to notice that the process is never linear. Like, you know, it you go up, then you go down again, you do a detour, it feels like, okay, you're circling, you're stepping on the same spot and not making progress. And then you realize, oh wow, it's going up again. And especially for me, I also noticed, like, things that still triggered me a year ago doesn't trigger me now. So something has shifted inside. And sometimes it's just subtle and you don't notice it. You only notice when you realize it's gone. I don't get triggered anymore, you know. And that is beautiful. And also being patient. Because I remember when I was really down in the dumps, I wanted the quick fix, you know. Okay, do something to make these feelings go away. And in the meantime, I know it takes time, you know. It's not a quick fix, or no one has the magic wand to make you feel better from 1 minute to the next.
That's a really important message. I think you're right. You know, it's, if we look at, we were talking before, and the other thing that you've taken from this, you said um, uh, the different issues, and where we've we've built up this kind of trauma. Oh, it's that's what I was saying. You were saying before how where we wait for the last, it's kind of like waiting for the last minute to get help,
Mm,
isn't it? We have to, you've seen it and we've seen it where people have got to a certain point, and this is where we talk about the tipping point, isn't it?
mm,
It's where's the tipping point for it to stop and then start looking to get that help. Um, we've built that up. So equally, we have to build that resilience up as well. So it takes time. You can't expect a quick pill that's going to give you a six pack. It's not going to work. You
mm,
have to put the effort in to be able to change. It's those habits have built up over a period of time.
mm.
So it does take more time now, or it might take more time to be able to overcome those habits as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also what I like when I listened to all the guests we had on the show and the tipping points they talked about, it's a lot of time suffering, you know,
Mm.
when people realize, wow, I can't go on like that anymore.
Mm.
And I find it so sad that we take care of what we eat, we brush our teeth daily, we take our car to maintenance so that it doesn't break down. But when it comes to our overall mental well-being, there is no maintenance. You know, we are with all the negative feelings we feel, we try to distract, we try to make them go away by having addictions or going shopping or just not like taking the time to deal with what's inside. And then we get to the breaking point where we realize, oh wow, all our strategies to distract ourselves, they are not working anymore.
Mm.
And I feel this is quite sad because then it's more challenging, it takes more time, instead of having more like a mental hygiene, you know, like look after your mental well-being on a daily basis as well. And even if it's just 5 minutes to take out from your stressful day and just relax and just focus, sit at the window, look out the window and observe the birds or observe the trees or the flower or look, yeah, at home, you know, talk to your plants or whatever it is that brings you joy for 5 minutes. And I think this is so important to stay in balance. And when I look, you know, people just rush through life. And even when I go for walks with friends in nature, I see the little things, you know, I look around and I see the spider web and I see the little drop on the leaf. But so many people are so still, yeah, in their head and not in the now, you know. And I think this is something you can do on a daily basis to just relax and drop in the moment.
I'm it's just thinking there. Um, I used to look after a particular client, and in their house, and every time I was expecting somebody at the door, or the client was coming back, I was stood near the door, and there was she had lots of paintings, but it was a particular painting, and it was near the door, and every time I mean, but God knows how many times I went to that door, but I'd always look at this picture and I'd always find something different about it. There was, and it's, if you look at the detail of a proper painting, and you see the little bits of things. Oh, I didn't see that guy there, or I didn't see that, or I didn't notice that bird in the sky, or that. I like
Mm,
that brush stroke. The detail, if you look more into the detail, you connect more with it. And like you say, with nature, you know, oh, it's a tree. So what?
mm,
But look at the tree. Look at the star. This tree, even the trees are different.
yeah, yeah,
Every tree is different because it's a living thing. It's growing. It has different. The trees, branch will go one way. Another tree or a branch will go a different way. But you think it's still the same tree. But there's a difference in everything, isn't there?
yeah, yeah.
And it is going a little bit more. And if we looked at that in ourselves, we can see those little differences whether it's going one way or another, whether it's going more negative than positive, we can then start like, oh, right, well, I'll go with the positive more than I would do for the negative.
mm,
Or if we see I'm going to the negative, what am I going to do about it to be able to change it? So it is those little details, like you say, is we are missing that
mm, mm.
in particular.
Yeah. That there's also a beautiful forest bathing exercise that I'd like to share because you mentioned it with the tree. And there's this exercise where you go into, like, you zoom out and see the tree as a whole, but then you zoom in, and you zoom in very detailed, like down to the roots, down to the earth. And all of a sudden you see ants or other animals, like tiny, tiny things that wander around, or tiny roots, and it's so interesting that we miss the details when we rush through life or when we rush through nature, and that is the connection we can make by observing just one tree, and you notice so many different things, like, so also so many different lives, in one piece of earth, and it makes you feel more connected to what's around you.
Yeah, I was doing some timeline therapy and visualization with a friend's partner. She had a lot of anxiety about doing the driving lessons, a first lesson and a theory test. And when you go back and you're looking at the detail and with timeline therapy, you're going up and up and up and up and you're coming looking down and you're looking down on that event and finding out what is actually going on there.
Mhm.
The detail that you can see even from high above, it's taking you away from that negativity. But equally, it's looking, well, why am if I'm doing that, I do look silly doing that, so I'll change. So you are picking out those little details, aren't you? So in order to then go, well, why am I so anxious?
Mhm.
Now I see how silly am I doing that particular thing? Or I shouldn't really do that because it's not working for me. It is picking out those details to get a better picture and moving forward.
Mm, mm. And I also feel awareness is key. Once you become more aware of your actions or your trigger points, or you realize, oh, now my nervous system gets activated, that's when you can change direction, or change things. I think it's all with, yeah, like you said, awareness and focusing on the details. Yeah.
Well, I got to kind of like sit there and just imagine yourself sat there and taking yourself out of your body and looking at that person. You're going to look at yourself, but you're looking at it through, as like you are on a movie screen.
Mm,
And even and I was saying, how does that person look? What are they wearing? How are they sitting? Are they slouched? Are they sat up straight? Are they all over the place? You know, and how do you think that looking at that person, how do you think they're feeling? If you look at the micro expressions on their face,
mm,
again, details, really looking at it and then being able to say, well, what is going on through that person's mind as another person? But then when you step back into yourself and go, shit, that was me.
mm,
It makes you then think, oh, hang on, I know what I'm doing wrong here. Now I
mm,
need to know what I'm doing to change that to be, and then you can do that and making those subtle differences and changes to be more aligned in where you're going to what you're going to be doing, whether it be a theory
mm,
test, they're also doing their exams. The fantastic with response from her going from I am so stressed, I am so worried about my exams and this and pressured to then going, bring it on. I want this.
mm,
I'm going to give it all the girly thing. I want this. Bring it on. And the transformation from it was fantastic. And it is that little changes that we need to make, like you say, is seeing the micro expressions,
mm.
if we can, and
And
the
also,
little ants on the tree.
Yeah. Yeah, and also your body is a great indicator how you feel, you know, like you said, how do you sit? Like, are you slouched? Are you straight? Are you like, what's the impression, you know? And even in nature coaching, there's this exercise where you, if you need to make a decision and you have two options but you don't really know which one is the best, you know, there's this walking exercise and you just listen to your body. How does your body walk depending on the decision you make with your mind, you know? It's so intriguing, like that the body is so important for our overall well-being, because often I feel people, it's like, oh, just change your mind, just think positive. Like, it's, yes, the mind is important, but it's also the body that is so important to feel and to tune into, and especially with trauma, you know, release stuck energy and get in connection again. And for example, for me, every morning I do some yoga exercises, and mainly to charge my body with energy, because from my trauma, like being stuck in a cast, not able to move, having a lot of operations as a child, rest or sleep in my body is not something positive. You know, it's rather a negative memory, a negative experience. So although I had a good night's sleep, I always wake up with a bit like of a like a depressive energy, and that is still memories in the body, you know. So with my breathing exercises and yoga, I recharge my body, and it makes such a difference for the rest of the day. So I notice exactly when I have days where I don't do my yoga and my breathing compared to the days where I have my yoga and breathing, you know. Yeah. So,
We had Claire Pritchard on talking about, I was thinking then, those, like you say, the subtleties, you know, just our breathing can make, if you take your time to do the breathwork exercises, how even just doing something like your breathing can change everything as well, you know, those differences. Again, this is the stuff that we, you know, the whole point about these podcasts is to show people the different modalities, the different models of stuff that's out there that can help either with your personal development or, you know, your mental health. Who would have thought sitting still for 5 or 10 minutes just practicing breathing helps earth you and calm you and put you in a more better state of mind? Nobody thinks that. Oh, I breathe
yeah.
all day. I don't. I haven't got time for that. Well, you have got time for it because you do it every second of every day. You know,
Yeah.
just taking that 5 minutes just to. I've done it. I picked up some exercises, a 5 minute. You only do 3 exercises of 30 seconds each, but it makes a difference if you're doing that every day. And everyone's got 5 minutes.
Mm.
Everyone's
Mm.
got 5 minutes. Everyone's got 20 minutes or 30 minutes. You can't tell me they haven't. We don't use that time.
Mm.
You know, we go from day to day. Our lives are busy, or some people don't have a busy life, but they're caught up in their trauma. But you've got 30 minutes just to take time for yourself and understand where you're at,
Mm.
where your mind's at, where your body's at, where your emotions are, and what you're doing, how those are affecting your day-to-day life. If
Yeah.
we can take 30 minutes of, if we take 5 minutes to understand that, and then the other 25 minutes to do something about it, we'd be a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also for me the doing, you know. No one helps you, or no one can make the change for you.
Mm.
People can guide you and support you, but you still yourself, you need to make the change. You need to actively say every day, okay, this is what I'm focusing on today. This is what I'm doing today. And there are so many activities you can do that are also free of charge, like with the breath, you know. Doesn't cost you anything. You just need to consciously make the decision, okay, I'm going to change something in my life and
you
start
don't have
doing
to
it.
you don't have to be dressed up like on a catwalk either. You know, you can sit there in your PJs or in your underwear, just sit there and do it, you know.
Yeah,
Just don't have the windows open, don't have the curtains open, just
no, it's so interesting. There's this saying, if you should spend at least 30 minutes a day in nature, and if you are stressed, you need to spend 1 hour in nature. You know? And it
Well,
just shows you need to take the time. If you have a stressful life, make time for calming down. You know?
and you'll get people who say, well, I have a job where I have to work through my lunch break. I have to do this. If I don't do that, then but no, you know, we're seeing it more and more that companies are having this um, awareness of mental health. Now, whether they stick to it or not is a different matter.
Mm,
And you know, I don't want to sound out of turn. You know, some companies will say, you know, they just do it for a tick box exercise,
mm,
but it is down to you to get off your butt and go, no, I'm going to take that 30-minute break. I'm going to go outside, whether it's raining or sunny or snowing. I'm going outside and immerse myself in whatever the elements are
yeah.
to de-stress, to take that time to relax and take away all that stuff that's going on, that stress, and appreciate yourself.
Mm,
We have to push ourselves, like you say. It's down to us. Nobody can change us. It's our body, it's our life, our
yeah.
mind. We have to do that.
Yeah. Which brings us back to the topic of self-care. You know, what also a lot of guests in our podcast mentioned, self-care is so important. Like you need to look after yourself first and be in your strength and in your power, and then you can show up differently in the community as well, or with your friends, family. Yeah.
I found one of the things interesting with Jeanette Dean when she was talking about, you know, having to tell somebody they're going to lose their job
Mm,
and where they take it personally and then go, well, what have I done wrong? What have I done? No, it's the unfortunately things have changed. And what I see from that is that change. We have to accept change, whether it be a change in circumstances and how we adapt to that, but
mm,
also our changes within ourselves, and we have to adapt as well. So if we've if we've had an injury in a car crash or an injury in sport, you know, and that we can't do certain things, there's a change. So how do we adapt to that change to move forward?
mm.
You know, we can't do that, but we can do something else.
Yeah, and also interesting with change, you know, especially if it's a change that you don't make yourself. Like, for example, you're losing your job. You're like, oh wow, oh my God, what is happening, you know? But then a lot of people in hindsight, like 2 years down the track, they are like, oh my God, it was the best thing that could have happened to me, you know? So it's also sometimes life pushes you to make a change, you know, instead of making the change yourself. But it's frightening, and I understand it for some people, you know, especially trauma background, where safety and security is really important. A change can be terrifying to
Well,
do, you know.
I was at a network event the other week, and we're hoping to get her on. There was a lady there who dealt with head trauma.
Hmm.
So, you know, she come up with some statistics which kind of took me aback about how many people actually suffer from head trauma. So that is a massive change for someone, and how are they going to adapt and what they have to do. And she works with that. So we're hoping to get her on
Hmm.
at some
Cool.
point. So that'll be an interesting thing. And you mentioned before we came on today, we were talking about plant medicine.
Mm.
And your interpretation. We don't we have a misconception about it, did you say?
I feel there is a lot of negativity around plant medicine. You know, it's seen as an evil drug that that causes more suffering. But I also feel if you take it in a very safe environment, it can really help to see things in your life that you were not able to see. And there's so much research done on psilocybin, or even cannabis, MDMA, to especially for trauma patients to deal with the trauma. And I think in Australia they now made it legal for therapists to work with these substances, because they have done a lot of research and they realized it really helps patients to make a change in their brain. You know, like it helps to form new pathways in a much faster way than like through changing your behavior. Because all the pathways that are created through trauma, the more trauma comes on top, the more negative experiences you make. You know, these pathways, they become like highways, like autobahns, and it's really challenging to leave it or find an exit. And all the these drugs, they actually help you, or plant medicine helps you to make new connections in the brain. And I feel people need to be more open to other things that are out there, and also with spirituality. You know, I know it's there's a lot of negativity around spirituality. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm spiritual, but then they don't live according to it. And to me, spirituality is really, when I look at indigenous people, you know, how they are connected to nature, to Mother Earth, to the stars, how they derive medication from the plants. And we in our world, we are so, oh God, we are so removed and so far away, you know, like with computers and social media, and when you look at some cities, they are so plant free, like it's concrete jungle, you know, and then when you go to nature, you realize what kind of difference it makes. And I think people need to be more open to spirituality, to plant medicine as well. And I liked when we had Wes on the show, you know, it was such an amazing example how plant medicine, taking it in a very safe and controlled way, how it can help you to change your life after one session. And even I made this experience when I did my ayahuasca ceremony in Costa Rica. There was this moment where I realized, where I saw myself as a 3-year-old sitting on the floor, and how sad and depressing this energy felt. And no coach could ever have showed me this or made me experience this, because all these experiences from the first 4, 5, 6 years of my life, they are wiped out. Like I have no memories or whatsoever. And to realize and to see yourself, what you felt and how you felt, was like, oh, wow. And it just opens you up, like to bring more compassion to yourself, you know, because we are our own like worst enemy. You know, the way we sometimes talk to ourselves, we would hardly talk to a friend like that. And realizing what you went through in childhood, no matter what kind of trauma it was, you know, and it makes you love yourself, and you realize, wow, you poor little thing, this is what you had to suffer. No one was there to help. and look how far you've come. You made it, you know. So yeah, I think it's important to look at these things, and I hope plant medicine will become more popular and more accessible. And we are not talking about drug sessions, you know, where you drink alcohol and that are not supported and not guided and not safe. It's really and even I'm not sure if I would do a ayahuasca ceremony in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands, you know. I really like the traditional way with the shamans who've learned it for many years and who have the lineage in their family. It's definitely an interesting subject.
Yeah, you mentioned indigenous people. I was watching a little clip the other day. There was a guy with it was either the Baka or Baku tribe, and how they lived. You know, if he was out with about 4 or 5 of the tribe males, and they were the hunting party, and if they didn't get the food, it'd be another time they wouldn't go to eat. The women and the children wouldn't go to eat, and they caught this huge snake. And then, but it had actually eaten something, but it had a deer in its stomach, and they obviously caught it. They cut the deer out, but that was bile, so they couldn't use anything. How they used every little piece of the snake that would feed them, for a good few weeks. You know, they put some, they wrapped all the pieces into different leaves, and then made them into a backpack. You know, they went to a certain thing, a certain plant where they opened it up and they could squeeze out this white substance, which was poison, which they used to be able to hunt with. And this, so it is those little things, the elements that we lose that. And talking to one of the guys that I work with, who again, and not somebody else, we're going to get onto the podcast, and he says we are hunter gatherers. You know, and that we are missing that now in the society that we're in. We are naturally hunter gatherers. So gatherers gathering the information, gathering that. When we look at gathering, for me, what I can think of is gathering the information, gathering the bits and pieces that we can use in order to move forward, be better, develop. We're missing that in the natural, but with natural stuff, not IT, because I hate IT. But you know, we're missing that. We gather the information to be able to change for the better as well.
Yeah. And I think big pharma, it's a big word, you know, and people there are different opinions about it. But I feel yes, progress has been made through medicine, you know, and research. And I think there's a lot of good about it. But I also feel that the natural way of doing things has been compromised.
You know what? I've started this week. Here's a change for you. I've started this week. So I get up, or when I'm on an empty stomach, I don't make. I drink tea like it's nobody's business. But what I've started doing this week is having just hot water and a spoonful of honey in it, and just drinking that on an empty stomach. And I am determined to keep on that. Again, a little change makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also with the plant medicine, you know, like for example, in Australia, I believe they use the chemical drugs that the pharma industry produces. Why not use the plant medicine, you know? That are the things where I feel, wow, why does it always have to be processed or the chemical stuff, not the natural things? And that's what I like about the indigenous people, you know, they are so more connected to nature. And I also like when people produce shampoos or soaps out of natural ingredients, you know. It's so much more beneficial than all the artificial stuff we eat and take. into our body.
I've used Chinese medicine and acupuncture.
Mm,
They've been doing it for God knows how long. But
yeah.
like you say, the companies are producing processed chemical, the stuff, the chemicalization of these natural products, which
Mm,
don't really do as much, I don't think, as much as they what do natural. I think it might take a little bit longer with natural because it
mm,
does, where it is much more cleaner and
yeah.
much more healthier than it would be for the other products as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm. That could be a podcast topic on its own, you know.
Who do we know? Who do we know? Who do we know? Um, it's I think one thing I think we've mentioned today um, is not waiting as long as we do to get help.
Mm,
I think there's an important message there. It's something you touched on earlier, and you're absolutely right. Is why why do we wait so long? Um, and I always use your analogy of the car. You know, if you're and I put a bit of a podcast together, and I will put it out. Again, we'll do it. I will do it. It is. I, I was talking to a friend, and I used your analogy of when your car breaks down. You're quite happy to go and pay 3, 4, 500 euros or pounds or dollars or whichever it may well be. You'll find that money to pay for it. And I was talking to, but you don't fix your mental health. And a friend of
mm,
mine says to me, he says, but you've got to remember, Dan, he says that your car's a commodity. You need that to get to work. You need to get to the shops. You need to get kids to school or whichever. And I went, yeah, I get that. However, if you're not in the right state of mind, there's no point having a car that works because you ain't going to get to work because you haven't got a job because your mind's not in the right place and you've just been fired from it.
absolutely.
Again,
Yeah.
you know, fix yourself first.
Mm,
We know we need the car, but we also need our health and we also need us.
yeah.
One of the guys that I work with, is it this year? I think it was earlier this year. Driving down a road is a particular road in the UK near Runcorn, and there's a bridge. It's a toll bridge, and he saw this guy. He pulled up on the side of the road, got out of his car, walked round, walked across, and just jumped off the bridge.
Mm,
Plain daylight. And he said, I couldn't do anything because I've got traffic around me. He said, I don't know. He just come out, walked out, and boom. Now what is?
mm,
And he said, if only that guy would have spoke to you, Darren. If you'd
mm,
had a chance. But if you're going to be just going to go and do that, you can easily just go and get help.
mm,
And
mm,
we do need that help. And it's swallowing our pride and getting over that and going, yes, I do. There's two things in this: the acceptance of having a problem
mm,
and acceptance I can get help. I want help. And starting that help, it does take that one step forward. And it is a really good point that you've brought up today, that we don't have to go so far or to those extremes before we start saying, I have a problem and I need some help.
mm, mm,
It's not only that, it's not only just the mental health side, but it's where we want to progress as well. That personal development is as a broad topic,
mm,
isn't it? It's not just our health and well-being, our mindset. It's what we want to do, whether we want to progress in our jobs, whether we want to progress onto something else. We're never too old to learn something. Every day is a learning day, as we say. So it's where it starts. It's when do you want to start it, and do something about it is important.
Personally, I also feel that once we start changing within, it helps the overall world or community to become a better place. Because instead of blaming other people, oh, you make me feel like X, Y, Z, it's like, no, you have something in you that makes you feel like that. It's just the other person is the trigger, but the other person is not the root cause. And I feel once we heal our core wounds, our core issues, we become more compassionate, more empathetic, more creative, more loving, more caring. So overall, the world will be a better place. And I truly believe that the world is in such a mess right now because so much suffering within people that needs to be brought out and changed, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah. They say negativity is contagious, but so is positivity. You know, if we see someone laughing on a bus or something, we all start smiling and pick up things. And you know, it's shown that, you know, with suicides, if somebody takes their own life, you know, you will affect, on average, I'll say that it's quite soundly, you on average, you affect 85 other people. You know, and if you're in a close-knit circle, if one person commits suicide, the chances are somebody out of that circle will do the same. Whereas, like say, if you're more positive and more upbeat and you people see the changes in you as well, you can share that, and that positivity follows on with everybody else. You know,
yeah,
1 minute I know we can't be doing cartwheels every day, and you know, like you said at the very beginning, we have, it's like the podcast. You know, when I was talking to people like in the media team, you know, about setting the podcast up, what's the tips and stuff, and he was saying you got to remember certain groups, certain companies that allow you to broadcast these podcasts, they don't like that image that there's something wrong. It's all rainbows and unicorns, but we know life isn't that. And so when people see you as people will pick up on your negativity, and you know, we know with these, we're not expecting everybody to be doing cartwheels every day. You can't do that. So accept those days that you can't, but equally, how you portray yourself comes across to everybody else, doesn't it? You know, if you're happy and smiley, somebody else will be happy and smiley. They might turn around and say, "What are you happy about?" Well, actually, I'm happy and I'm just here. I'm happy
yeah,
that I've just been to my coach and he's done something really good, or she's told me about, I've just been out in nature with my forest bathing coach, you know, and I feel a bit more alive. I feel more connected. And people might give you that puzzled look, but who cares? That's them to
yeah,
deal with that.
yeah,
You know, they might, but you can be pretty much sure they'll go out and see what's he talking about, and they'll go and Google it just for the fun of it. So it does. There is that domino effect,
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
there? Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
love it, love it. I love what we do. I love what we do.
Yeah, it's exciting meeting all these different people.
So we've had everybody, you know, from anything from, you know, the Reiki to trauma to breath work to ayahuasca and plant medicine. You know, if anybody wants to write in and you know, comment, if there's something in particular that you would like to know more about, maybe, you know, put a comment on, or get in touch. You'll see our email address on the podcast. So get in touch with us and then find out what it is that's in, you know, you'd like to know more about, or maybe you want to come on and share your story of what's going on with you, because the idea with these podcasts is not just to show what different models are out there. We also want to not speak to those that have had help, you know, what's worked for them, what hasn't, like Wes Dyson did. You know, he's been on and shown out. We've got other guests that we've got to come on as well. So share what's going on with you, and if you're interested in showing what's, you know, we've got so many different more guests are coming up. We're going to be at, I think, to our 90s doing this. So we've got plenty to go. Alexander, anything from yourself?
So I'm happy. Just give us a like, a comment, a share, and we hope you tune in next time.
Yeah. Yeah, as always, thanks to Promo Doodle, the Professional Bodyguard Association, Burnley District Motorcycle Club, and Mira Gavaccio. Good luck, Mira, to I know she's in she's she's not too clever at the moment. She's not too well. So want to wish her all the best. Our thoughts are with her, and to her partner. So get well soon. And obviously our donation pages with easy fundraising, and the GoFundMe for the retreat and training centre for men and veterans with mental health. All donations are greatly received. So please put in, and sooner we have got a little thing we'd like to say is that we're hoping Alexandra and I will be putting our own little retreat together. Hopefully we can get that coming up in the very near future, and we'll be able to help you with your personal development as well. So keep an eye out for that. When we finally get around to actually sitting down and putting it together, we'll be all right. So we'll look forward to seeing some inquiries about that as well. So from me, Darren Singleworth, thanks very much for everybody for listening. Keep supporting us and keep watching and listening. So thanks very much.